Everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters, and man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. What is happening, man? What a week. What a week. Wow, we have a new president-elect coming in, disrupting things. Boy, it's going to get wild. But we're not going to talk too much about that. We do have a few updates. Got some great news for you guys. Obviously, we're looking at some shakeups again. And a lot of people feel like it might be in our benefit. So I'll dive into some of that. First and foremost, obviously, this show is brought to you by DFY, one of the best CRMs out there. It's a CRM I use. Love it to death. If you are looking for a great CRM, check out DFY, man. Give my buddy Eric Fierro a holler and his team over there. They will get you fully set up. I've been using this platform for a couple of years. Absolutely love it. Landing pages, funnels. I have a whole ebook for Medicare that I built inside of DFY so that basically I can track where my customers are viewing in that ebook and create triggers based on different topics that they're searching in my ebook, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an amazing tool. I would highly recommend you check it out, especially if you really like running your own marketing to some extent, right? Building your own landing pages, building your own funnels, things of that nature. Super easy to use. So check it out. DFY is definitely an excellent tool, and I'm very proud to have them as a sponsor of the show. So thank you guys. Moving along, I've got quite a bit of news that I'm going to run through today, and then I've got some Q&A, similar format to what I've been doing the last couple of weeks since it is AEP time. I'm pretty centered, obviously, on the Medicare space. So I've got some news that we're going to talk about with the current state of affairs, so to speak, right? Got some snapshots from Kaiser Family Foundation, some articles regarding Medicare health systems that are changing and so forth. Like, we'll jump into all that. And then obviously the news on the new cost for Medicare, which were just announced post-election, of course. So we'll jump into all of that. And then I've got some Q&A topics. If you guys have any questions about Medicare, about in any capacity, drop them in the comments, because after I run through some of this news, I have some prefab questions that I pulled from some of the different Facebook groups about Medicare situations. But if you've got anything yourself, drop it in the comments, man, and I will bump it up and chat about it as well. But other than that, man, I hope you guys are having an awesome Tuesday. I will tell you that this AEP has been exceptional for us over here at GoOvula. Let me fix my chair real quick. Pardon me just one second. There we go. But we're having an excellent AEP, killing it. I had seen someone post in a group says, "Hey, are you guys having any luck with AEP?" And I apologize. I can be a little bit of a smart ass sometimes, but I said, no, I'm not having any luck, but our hard work and preparation is paying off. And boy, is it. We are running at about a 300% growth rate over here at GoOvula in regards to production. We're pretty much 300% over where we were last year at this time. So super happy for the agents that I've got in-house, and certainly my external brokers that I'm working with as well. You guys are all superstars, and I appreciate you working hard and kicking ass. So thank y'all. We are definitely having an exceptional year. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into some news. Let me get some of this shared up for you guys, and we will run through some items. Where did it go? Bear with me one second. All right, we'll just start with this one, but that's not the one. This is the one that I wanted to share. I don't know why I couldn't find it in my tabs. But as you know, unless you're living under a rock, you would have found out that Medicare has now announced their new cost for 2025. This article here is straight from the CMS.gov newsroom, and I'm just going to run through some of the changes that we're seeing in cost. Nothing magnificent, and I should have brought it up today, but maybe I'll save it food for thought later. But if you look at the Part B and technically Part A costs over the last 20 years, you will definitely see that some of the highest trends and increases have come in the last 4 years. But anyway, that's food for another thing. So anyway, they've announced the new cost, fairly simple, right? And I'm just going to pull it right back down to this chart right here. Here we go. No, that's not the one. Right here. Okay. So as we know, it's 174.70 this year, right? That's the Part B cost for 2024. It is going up to 185 for 2025. Not an enormous increase, but hey, it's another, $10.30. So that's jumping up. Also, we know that the Part B deductible is now going from $240 to $257, $17 increase. Again, it's not terrible, but it is an increase in payments, which the unfortunate part is that we're basically seeing roughly, I think it's close to a 5% increase in costs of Medicare. But I want to say, if I remember correctly, the COLA, the Social Security COLA adjustment was something like 2.8% or something like that. I think it was less than 3. So, the COLA increase is not keeping up with the cost of Medicare. That's not really anything new. That's kind of been the case ever since. So, but I want to go through a few of these other ones real quick. Here we go. Boom. Your full Part B coverage. But you can go through this article. I'll make sure it's in the group, but it will go through all the costs. So here's our Part A cost chart, right? We are seeing that the hospital deductible, the Part A deductible, jumping mildly from $1,632 to $1,676. Your co-insurance is going up, right? It was $408 per day under Part A. Now it's $419 per day. Of course, that is for the 61st through 90th day. And your lifetime reserve days are going up as well. Skilled nursing copayment going up just a little bit to $209.50. So if you are out there writing, say, home healthcare products, or maybe you're writing hospital indemnity with a skilled nursing rider, you want to pay close attention to that skilled nursing number and make sure that you are getting that copayment on that hospital indemnity plan for the skilled nursing days up a little bit. I had generally been doing it at about $210. So not really a big change for me, but I might go ahead and bump it up to $220 just to give them a little extra cheddar to make sure that when they are facing that situation, they can easily cover it. So make sure, again, if you are covering hospital indemnity, or if you're selling hospital indemnity products, you're paying close attention to these numbers and how you need to maybe adjust that. There's also an increase for people that don't have the full 40 quarters, right? Not a huge increase, but it is an increase a wee bit. In 2024, if I can read this quickly, they are paying now, if they want to buy Part A coverage and they have at least 30 credits, they're going to pay $285. If for any reason they have less than that, I don't know why I'm not seeing it in here, but it's now $510 or $518. Sorry, I believe it's $510 currently, but it's going up to $518. So not a huge deal, right? And generally speaking, people that don't have at least 30 credits, it's very rare that they're going to buy Part A. There are some people that do it, but pretty rare situation. I don't come across it too much, but we are seeing those go up. And then obviously IRMA premiums. This is the Part D IRMA adjustments that you see here, right? So if anybody is making, say, $106,000 or more per year, they're going to have a $13.70 IRMA on their Part D plan. This is super important, man. If you're an agent out there and you're selling Medicare products, and especially if you're in the market that I focus on, which is those people that are turning 65, you need to know these numbers. You don't need to know every single one of them. You should know at least the first one. And you should be telling your clients, hey, you're brand new to Medicare. I get it. Part B is not free, right? In 2024, it's $174.70. If you make more than $106,000, you will pay more for Part B. You don't need to go through the whole chart with them unless they tell you, well, actually, I make a lot more than 106. I'm making, $283,000 a year. Then go back and reference the chart and say, okay, well, in that case, this is what you're looking at in Part B and Part D costs for Medicare, because if you make more money, it's going up. Usually when I'm talking to those folks and they ask me, like, how much does Part B cost? All I tell them is like, look, it's simple. Most people in 2025 are going to pay $185 for their Part B. But if you make more than $106,000 a year, you will pay more. That's all I have to say. Because he's going to tell me immediately, oh, okay, no, I don't make more than $106,000. I'm good. Or he's going to say, well, how much more? And then now I know if I'm paying attention and using listening skills, oh, this guy makes more than 100K. I need to dive into this a little harder for him. Because the last thing you ever want is your new Medicare enrollee that you fix up to find out the hard way that they're getting charged more money through IRMA because they make more money, right? And it's not something that, that you want to be a surprise. You want to be the expert that shows them that. Bear with me a second. There was another piece in here and I don't know how I missed it. Anyway, I don't know why they don't have the chart in here for Part B IRMAs. For some reason, they only have the immunosuppressive only, and then they've got a partial chart. So I have, in my guidebook, I've got all of those specific numbers. I don't know why it's not showing on here, but anyway, the IRMAs are obviously changing as well. So you'll want to reference the full IRMA chart to figure out when you do have people that are making absorbent money. So fairly simple. Cost for Medicare is going up. Nothing new. It seems to go up every year. But moving along, man, with the shakeup, NPR puts out an article that says Trump's win could accelerate the privatization of Medicare. No shit. Like, that's not really news. I think we could all figure that one out on our own. But something I wanted to say on this topic, a lot of people feel like privatization of Medicare is a brand new thing, and it's really not. If you take time, and I would encourage you, if you are an agent in the Medicare space, I would highly encourage you to go back all the way to 1997 and read Medicare reform legislation, right? Look through it and look. And this is something I've been talking about at different events as the future of Medicare, and I base it based on what I've seen in Medicare reform legislation going back to 97. The Balanced Budget Act of 1997, passed by President Clinton at the time, was the first piece of legislation that pushed towards the privatization of Medicare, because the Balanced Budget Act now created Part C. That's when Part C of Medicare was created in 1997, and that allowed Medicare to start contracting with private insurers. So that was ground zero of the privatization of Medicare, and then legislation after that has continued to accelerate it. Where Trump's acceleration is going to come in is most likely, and I'm pontificating a little bit and speculating, is going to come through deregulating some of the garbage that has created pressures on the Medicare Advantage world that in a lot of cases increases excessive spending. That's kind of my take on it. Certainly he's going to be in favor of private Medicare. He's a capitalist, etc. Right? So most likely we are going to see some major deregulation in the next couple of years that should streamline Medicare Advantage more, right? That's why we're seeing I'll just go ahead and jump into it. The next article, which covers pretty much the same thing. This one is from Fierce Healthcare. I posted this in the group last week, I think right after Election Day. But this article goes through how, hey, insurers are prepping for the Trump administration, friendly to Medicare Advantage and mergers, hostile to Medicaid and ACA. So I'm not going to jump into the Medicaid ACA stuff. That's not really my major forte, but a little bit on Medicare Advantage, and I want to go through a little bit of this article with you. But it basically says right here, likely expecting a more relaxed regulatory environment that loosens requirements on Medicare Advantage plans and encourages more mergers. Some health insurers are reaping initial benefits. So the way I see it, again, he is going to attack legislation that is increasing regulation of Medicare, increasing regulation of Medicare Advantage plans, right? We know that there's been a lot of legislation in the past couple of years that is increasing the amount of regulation on Medicare Advantage plans. And we should theoretically see a lot of that trimmed down. Whether or not he would go as far as to say completely repeal something like the Inflation Reduction Act, hard to say. Wouldn't surprise me, though. Wouldn't surprise me if he completely repealed the Inflation Reduction Act at some point. I'm hoping, honestly, that he doesn't just fully repeal it, but he makes some adjustments to it, right? Which could be involved in a repeal and then introducing something new. And let's not forget, Trump was actually the original one that created the $35 insulin cap, right? Biden came around and readjusted it and added on the $2,000 pharmacy cap, the 12-month payment program, and then restructured how TROOP is calculated. So I'm curious to see if the new administration is going to get in there and make changes on, if they're just going to repeal the whole thing, or if they're going to come in and make some changes on top of it. Hey, we still want the $35 insulin cap. We still want the pharmacy caps. Probably going to have to increase the pharmacy caps, and I'm just speculating here. And then let's restructure how Troop is calculated to remove some of the pressure off of the insurance carrier, and maybe back to original Medicare, or maybe back to the client. We're going to that is all going to be things that we will probably see in the future. But as we can see from this article, a lot of Medicare Advantage insurance carrier stocks are blossoming right now because they know, and they're smarter than most of us. They know that their plans are going to grow again, right? Because of Trump's agenda in regards to deregulating a lot of it, right? And increasing supplemental benefits and so forth. So I'm super interested to see how this all shakes out. I'm going to do my best to keep you guys informed as we go through this over the next few years. But if I had to just straight give you one speculation, because I know in the past 6 months, a lot of people have been freaking out. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Medicare Advantage is crazy. People are dropping it. Nobody wants it anymore. And that's just simply not true. I mean, if you look at the stats, the majority of Medicare beneficiaries are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, and the vast majority of beneficiaries that are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan are extremely happy with their Medicare Advantage plan. Kaiser Family Foundation has reported on this. Forbes, Fortune, they've all reported on this through surveys and research studies that show, hey, number one, most Medicare beneficiaries are already in a Medicare Advantage plan. It's about 51 and change, maybe might have hit as high as 53% of them, but over 90% are very satisfied with their plan. It's that small percentage of people that unfortunately get stuck in claims denials through prior authorization, which only affects about 7% of all claims. That small percentage of the ones, again, as always, that have the loudest voice that mass media is concentrating on and exaggerating it. And they use kind of an absolutist type of thinking. They're like, hey, if it's bad for this group of people, it's bad for everybody, and we got to get rid of it. Simply not the case. But anyway, real quick, at the time of this publication, CVS's stock is up 11.24%. Humana's up 8.56%. United Health Group 6%. Today, CVS recorded $87 million in profit for the third quarter and beat the street's expectation. So we are already seeing these Medicare Advantage carriers get excited and quote unquote lick their chops, knowing that President Trump is going to come in and is going to deregulate a lot of the issues that create pressure on Medicare Advantage plans and doesn't allow them to thrive and take care of people. I'm super excited about it, not because I like to shill Medicare Advantage plans. If it were up to me, most of my clients, my personal book, are all on Medicare supplement plans because they prefer that freedom of choice and they have the money to pay for it. But for a lot of people in a lot of areas, Medicare Advantage is the way to go. I mean, there's products that we're selling in LA that have excellent networks. They're 4 and 5-star rated plans that have a MOOP of $299, $399, $499. Exceptional plans. And in my opinion, in a lot of cases, you would probably be very dismissive not to pay attention to those plans and just write somebody a Medicare supplement. So, no product is perfect in an absolutist type thought process. We all know these plans and these products are very geographically dependent, but definitely they are excited coming into this new administration. So moving along a little bit, this is from ALM Think Advisor. Says the Medicare market turmoil boosts shopping. Not surprising, right? There's been a lot of upheaval in the Medicare space, particularly the Medicare Advantage and drug plan space, that has got everybody shopping a little more, right? Deft Research put out a research paper, I don't think it was a year ago, but it's been a while, that said that, hey, normally every year, only about 11% of people take time to shop and change their Medicare Advantage plan. But then it further stated that we estimate that roughly 48% of people will need to change their Medicare Advantage plan. And that comes from, we know, the plan exits that are out there, right? Also comes from the changes in the Part D benefit structure and how that's paid and how it's changed cost structures and so forth. So that's kind of where they were going with that. But I want to dive into this a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. But it says, where's the boom? Worries. Here we go. We'll pick up right here. Worries about the Medicare or the market and cash flow problems have also slashed some distributor spending on Medicare sales leads. One market player, Primerica, was so concerned that it gave GoHealth, eTelequote, a Medicare plan distribution business with 400 agents, 90.5 million in contract assets, and 22.5 million in cash. Interesting. So Primerica is, I guess, divesting some of their lead program or some of their sales assets over to GoHealth and eTeleQuote, which is pretty amazing. It says here that overall applications have been up 3%, but application volume through GoHealth's own career agents has jumped 46%. Executives at eHealth and SelectQuote also told security analysts about seeing less distributor competition among strong consumer interest. Less distributor competition. See, that statement right there bugs me, because that to me sounds like, hey, we're seeing fewer independent agents out there shaking it up and doing what they can to get their piece of the pie in the Medicare Advantage space or the Medicare space in general, and they're allowing some of these large behemoths like eHealth, GoHealth, SelectQuote to kind of run over them because there is, as it says, strong consumer interest out there. Moving along a little bit more, early indicators also point to increased effectiveness of our telesales organization. This is coming from eHealth. So they're seeing strong call volume, obviously, and so forth. There was another piece in here that I wanted to hit. Bear with me to find it again. Lo siento. Here we go. In the third quarter, which ended before the new enrollment period started, Medicare Advantage submitted applications were 26% higher than the third quarter of 23. So year over year, and this is coming from eHealth as well, they are saying that they are seeing a 26% jump in submitted apps from last year. And I would say that's true with us too. Like we're running a 300% growth rate over last year, and that includes, right, that's new customers and rewrites, right? So our application count is up 300%. A large chunk of that is new clients that we're finding, and a large chunk of that is also people that we're rewriting, right? So same thing is going to be true here. Agents are spending more time on calls, but closing at higher rates. Pretty simple. So obviously, yes, again, we are seeing a giant spike in shopping. Shouldn't be anything surprising. So moving along, Kaiser Family Foundation here. As you guys know, I always talk about Kaiser Family Foundation. I'm a big fan of the stuff that they put out. If you are an agent in the health insurance world, whether it's Medicare, whether you're doing Medicare, Medicaid stuff, whether you're doing ACA stuff, etc., you should be following Kaiser Family Foundation. They put out a ton of great information that is generally very objective, right? They're putting out facts, data, charts, predictions, history, et cetera, et cetera. So this here goes on some, again, it's the snapshot of Medicare Part D. This just came out back in October. I had overlooked it, but I wanted to jump in and talk a little bit about it here. As we know, Medicare Part D is the voluntary outpatient prescription drug program. People can get their Part D coverage either as a standalone drug plan, or they can get it wrapped into a Medicare Advantage plan, an MAPD. But let's hit the key takeaways real quick. In 2025, 524 PDPs will be offered across the 34 PDP regions nationwide, including territories. This is a 26% decrease over last year, right? So there are 26% fewer standalone drug plans than there were last year. Why is that? Well, that's pressures from the Inflation Reduction Act that have created that. So we've seen carriers such as Aetna, right, that used to have 3 drug plans, now has 1, right? That's a perfect example for you right there. We're seeing carriers like Mutual Omaha, which used to offer a drug plan. They're out. They're not in the game anymore, right? So we're seeing a lot of that consolidation of plans, shrinking of plans. So obviously much fewer options. There is a 26% reduction in standalone PDPs. Compared to 2024, fewer plans will be available for Part D low-income subsidy beneficiaries for no premium or benchmark plans, right? A 5% reduction compared to 2024. Changes to the Part D benefit under the Inflation Reduction Act are taking effect in 2025. We've all talked about this and know it, introducing the new $2,000 cap. In 2024, 53 million of the 67 million Medicare beneficiaries are enrolled in Part D plans. Now, their stat there that they're including MAPD and PDP, because we know that only about 22 to 23 million are actually enrolled in a standalone drug plan. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that spending on Part D benefits will total $137 billion, representing 15% of net total Medicare spending. Funding for Part D comes from general revenues, about 75%, beneficiary premiums, about 15%, and state contributions, 13%. And then finally here, Medicare's aggregate reinsurance payments for Part D plans are projected to account for 17% of total Part D spending, a substantial reduction from 2024. This change reflects the reduction in Medicare's liability for catastrophic drug costs from 80% down to 20%. So when I said earlier, right, that part of the Inflation Reduction Act restructured how the troop is calculated, that's what they're addressing there. Previously, Medicare was on the hook for 80% of the drug costs in catastrophic phase. Now they're only on the hook for 20% on brands, 40% on generics. So that piece of it is saving money for Medicare. The unfortunate part, as we've talked about before, is the premium subsidy, the premium stabilization demonstration subsidy, right? That is kind of offsetting it and is increasing it. And I'm a little perplexed as why they're not including that projection in here, because we are going to see billions of dollars come out through that subsidy of Medicare spending. Here we go. It talks about some of the different plans that are available. Look back all the way at 2007. In 2007, there were 1,800 standalone Part D plans. And as you see, the trend has been consolidation over the years, right? Carriers buying each other up, right? And so forth, and consolidating those Part D plans to now in 2025, we are down to 524 drug plans. And to be really clear about that, that's not 524 completely different drug plans. That is, they're going to be different across regions, right? So understand that SilverScript or Aetna still only has one drug plan, but that based on the different regions, it's going to be a little different in different areas. So it's not necessarily 525 or 24 totally unique plans. Despite the overall reduction in the number of PDPs for 2025, beneficiaries in each state will still have at least a dozen standalone PDPs, from 12 PDPs in Alaska, Hawaii, and New York to 18 in California as an example. They put this nice little map on there that you can point to, and it'll tell you exactly how many PDPs are available in that state. Colorado 16, Texas 17, and so forth. So fairly interesting data there. Goes into the low-income subsidy plan availability. Right, same thing. We're seeing consolidation down all the way from 643 back in 07 down to 120, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to get this. I don't want to go through all of this. I do want to go through this section, and then I'll make sure this article's in the group. But changes to Part D under the Inflation Reduction Act, just in case you've been living under a rock, right? These bullet points are simple, right? It limited the price of insulin products to no more than $35. I actually talked about this briefly in a Q&A last week, when somebody asked, hey, can the $35 insulin apply to insulin? No, it's got to be on formulary. If it's on formulary, they get the $35 cap. Requiring drug manufacturers to pay a rebate to the federal government if prices for drugs covered under Part D and Part B increase faster than the rate of inflation. It expanded eligibility for full benefits under the low-income subsidy, introduced the hard cap of $2,000. And I'm seeing some clients, because of the way they adjusted troop, right? I have a couple of clients that are not even hitting, they're not hitting 2,000 in spending, but their troop has hit 2,000, right? So again, it's not that the client has to spend 2,000 out of pocket. That troop includes their cost, how much Medicare is putting in, and how much the carrier is putting in. All of those three things add up to the troop. And I've got some clients that are only spending, I want to say like $1,400 in their own personal out of pocket, but they're hitting the troop and they're hitting catastrophic coverage where they pay zero. So I'm going to get this in there. I don't want to go through all this much longer because a lot of this has already been covered, but this is going to go into more detail, give you some graphs, some charts, some statistics. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. I would highly encourage you to follow Kaiser Family Foundation, regardless of whether you're doing Medicare, Medicare Advantage, ACA, et cetera. They put out a ton of great information. So moving along, another one that I can't get into too deep because it is an extremely deep article. But this one here, as we've talked about a couple of times on the group or in the show, original Medicare reimbursements to doctors, right? Not Medicare Advantage plans, original Medicare has been on a downward trend. And of course, the American Medical Association they're pissed off about it. And I don't blame them. I would be. This article I'm going to get in the group as well. This has a ton of data in it. And this is why I don't have time to run through it, but I want to point it out. Number one, it's got a little action item on here. Hey, if you believe also that Medicare reimbursements for doctors, for physicians, and again, this comes from original Medicare, if you believe they're on a downward trajectory and it's not fair to doctors because their reimbursements are not keeping up with the rate of inflation, the rate of medical costs, etc., then you can, hey, tell Congress to support some legislation. But there is a ton of PDFs in here that will go through the need for Medicare payment reform, alternative payment models, characteristics of rational Medicare physician payment, merit-based incentive payment systems, problem solutions, ton of data in here. Graphs, charts, all kinds of stuff. I am going to dive into this pretty heavily. Next year in April, I'm most likely going to be speaking at the Texas NABIP annual kickoff event. I can't remember exactly what they're calling it, Professional Development Day maybe. And this is probably what I'm going to be talking about in great detail. So this is definitely an area that I'm going to dive in pretty heavily. But I will get all of this data in the group for you for those of you that are data geeks like me and you want to dig into some of this stuff. And I would encourage you, man, if you're a professional in the Medicare space, there's no reason that you shouldn't be diving into information like this as extracurricular study, right? Study your craft. If you want to be a better Medicare agent, if you want to be able to help protect your clients in the future from trends that you see that are happening, learn this stuff. Go back, like I said at the beginning of the show. Start in 1997. Look at Medicare reform legislation over the years. You will see a direct bipartisan arc towards the privatization of Medicare, right? They argue about it all the time. It's a political football, but the truth is both parties have been passing legislation since 1997